So this is a Bell Howell 2709 35mm hand crank motion picture studio camera from early 1928. It was sold to A. Schlesinger and Son, 218 West 42nd Street, New York City. One of the things about this camera is this accessory has a Veeder counter on the side. It counts footage and frames. And it beats the heck out of the footage counter that's built into the side of the camera. The camera has a dissolving shutter and this very large shutter indicator on the outside of the camera. The way you did an in-camera dissolve was you crank the camera forward, press the lever on the back of the camera fades, the shutter fades out to 0. You stop, you crank the camera backwards to where you started your dissolve. With your next setup, started cranking the camera, flip the lever, and then it would fade up, and what you got was an overlap dissolve in camera. Looked like this when it was doing it. Got the 0, crank backwards to where you started your fade out, went to your next setup, and flip the lever and do your fade up. The camera has a Mitchell side finder on it. Mitchell is side finders had a prism in it, and what the prism would do was flip the image right side up on the ground glass. Now Bell and Howell side finders had a lipstick size viewfinder, small image, and it was upside down. It was difficult to work with. So as soon as Mitchell came out with these side finders, all the Bell and Howell guys threw away their old side finder and bought Mitchell side finders. Camera, when sound came in, let me open up and show you the inside. When sound came in, the unit eye shuttle couldn't be made quiet enough to shoot a sound movie. The microphones in the day were omnidirectional, so any noise they picked up. So when a 2709 went to shoot a movie in the very beginnings of sound, what they did was they built a soundproof booth on wheels, and they put the camera and the cameraman and the assistant cameraman in the soundproof booth so that the mic wouldn't pick up the racket from the camera. Then they would roll this booth around on the set to get their camera positioned. Mitchell movements were a lot quieter and easier to silence, and so sound killed the Bell Howell 2709, and here's why. When the camera first came out, they cost about a house, about the same price as a house, and they continued to be about the same price of a house. Even to this day, a motion picture camera costs a lot of money. This has a debris tripod and head, and so the camera is set up as an action camera. And what you had was you could pan and tilt and crank at the same time. Originally, gearheads of the day, you couldn't do that because you'd have to crank the pan and crank the tilt and crank the camera, and it just was very difficult to do. Bell Howell 2709, serial number 858.